So as the disease progresses, it may be necessary to put the person on biologics. These are medications made from living tissue, so for example like insulin or monoclonal antibodies, but the ones that we're going to give for this particular disease process are usually end in MAB, MAB. So something just to let your patient know if they're placed on these medications is that this is something that usually takes a long time to kick in. So they can't start and stop it. If they do, there's a risk of them becoming resistant to it. So it's something that they're probably going to have to be on for a lifetime, right? This is a lifetime disease. It doesn't go away. So they're going to need to be on medications forever. So that we need to teach compliance. And then our most invasive type of treatment would be surgery. So we may have to actually remove part of the diseased bowel, or sometimes remove the colon completely. So technically, removing the colon on somebody with ulcerative colitis would cure them of the disease because they no longer have a colon that to have ulcerative colitis. But that comes with its own set of problems. So this is something that we would definitely do as a last resort. Because if somebody has their entire colon removed, they're going to be at lifelong risk of fluid volume deficit. Your colon absorbs so much fluid, and so you would need to drink probably at least 1 liter to 1.5 liters more every day if you have your colon removed. So not to mention all the nutrients that are not going to be able to be absorbed because there's no colon there to absorb them anymore. So we really don't want to jump to this. And the person would end up with an ostomy for the rest of their life, which most people would not be very happy with. Sometimes we just remove a portion of the diseased bowel and then anatomize those two ends together. Sometimes they do end up with an ostomy for a lifetime. We may have to provide, different nutritional therapy. They're probably going to have to take lots of supplements. If we need to rest the bowel because they're in an exacerbation, then they're going to probably need TPN. So make sure that you look at that skill. That's something you should have a template filled out on. If not, go ahead and do that so you have an understanding of what you need to do if somebody's on TPN. Just in general, TPN is something that can't be stopped. It's a continuous drip through the day. They're going to really have to monitor their blood sugars because there's a lot of dextrose in there. So make sure you take a look at that. So some complications of IBD, of course, obstructions, fistulas, abscesses, and malabsorption. Colon cancer is a complication because of that continuous scarring and the tissue keeps trying to rebuild. Eventually, over time, that could develop into cancer. So surgery, like I said, is one of our last resorts. We may do a strictureplasty, which is when a longitudinal incision is made over an area of bowel that may be really tight because of all that scarring and really narrow. So we need to open it back up. So we may just make a longitudinal incision to relieve some of that stricture. We may do a colon resection, which is, like I said, when we take a section of the colon out or small bowel even and I can't ever say that word. We sew it back together. That's what we do. We reconnect it where the tissue is healthy. If we can't do that, then they may end up with an ostomy. So make sure that you review ostomy care so that you know how to take care of an ostomy. Just know after surgery, the person's probably not going to have a lot of bowel activity for a couple of days. That bowel has to wake back up and start moving again, so you may not hear bowel sounds. You may not see a lot of production from that stoma for the first couple of days, but then we should start to see something come out. Depending on where in the bowel that ostomy is, further down, it's going to be more solid and formed. If it's a really high ostomy or an ileostomy, it's going to be very, very watery. So we really need to think about tissue integrity around that stoma. We want to make sure that that stoma looks nice and pink and healthy. We don't want it to be blue or pale looking. That means it's not getting a good blood supply. So make sure that you really review some of that ostomy care from your 170 class. Sometimes it may be necessary to remove the rectum, and if that happens, we will usually just suture the anus shut too. So, and then of course, if that happens, they're going to end up with an ostomy. So make sure you do your readings, and we'll discuss some of this some more in class. So I'll see you there.